who's this? You don't look familiar at all. Do you work here at the monastery?
Oh, Mercy! Do you think this is that mercenary people have been talking about?
Now that I think about it, that does sound like something Dimitri may have said. I suppose you'll be enrolling at the Officers' Academy too, then? Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Mercedes, and this is my best friend.
I'm Annette. It's nice to meet you.
Before I came to the Officers' Academy, I attended a school of magic in the Kingdom capital. That's where I met Annie. That's what I call Annette. Oh, I guess Lawrence was at the School of Magic too. But Annie was always just so nice to me, even though I was older. She's my best friend in the world. The cathedral is nice and quiet. It's so relaxing. Oh, Professor, did you come to pray to the goddess? Me too. Shall we pray together? I've heard whispers about Lord Lonato. They say he's a very kind and gentle lord. Why would such a kind man suddenly raise an army? Oh, Professor, you were working late last night, weren't you? You shouldn't. A ghost might rise up from the well to get you if you stay up too late. Or so I'm told. I have a favor to ask of you. Good evening, Professor. Returning from work, I take it? I commend you for working so late into the evening. All of my days at the Academy are enriching thanks to you. Try not to overtax yourself, all right? I'm concerned for your health. We wouldn't want you to wear yourself out. The goddess won't smite you if you rely on others for help, you know. Listen here, Professor. You might not like what I'm about to say. To be perfectly honest, I had my doubts when I first met you. At first, I thought you seemed too young to be a professor. It is unusual, you have to admit. Yet you seemed very composed and mature despite your age. You're strong-willed, encouraging, and you go to great lengths to ensure that everyone is cared for. But it almost feels like you're trying too hard to be a perfect role model for your students. If that's how you feel, then I can't disagree. But I think it's necessary to give yourself a break every now and again. The mind has a tendency to make mistakes when you've exhausted yourself. In my case, I still seem to make mistakes even when I'm wide awake. Oh, you know, I'm always mixing up the dates for drills or misplacing things. Just the other day, I forgot to put on my uniform and headed out to practice wearing only my... well, you can imagine how embarrassed I was. My mind can be so scattered sometimes. Anyway, where was I? Ah, that's right. What I'm trying to say is that you shouldn't push yourself too hard. If you do, you might end up in a pretty bad place. That reminds me, is there anything I can do to assist you, Professor? If it's all right with you, I'd like to help in any way I can. Whatever you need, just say the word. I look forward to helping you out. Professor Yuritsa seems very familiar to me, but I don't recognize his name. I guess the resemblance could be coincidental. Isn't it strange? Saint Seros' body was missing from her coffin, but they found a sword in its place. Do you think she moved from her coffin and left the sword behind? Do you really think Flame was kidnapped? I have a feeling you're right. They really need to find her, and quickly. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was lost in thought. It's very kind of you to be concerned, but I promise that I'm fine. I was just thinking, the Death Knight's true identity, could it actually be Professor Yuritsa?
You there, youngster. Won't you listen to this old man's troubles? I was born and raised right here in this town. I spent my whole life here. My daughter lives in the Empire, and she sent me a letter to ask if I was keeping up with my daily worship.
Well, hello there, Professor. Is this a friend of yours? Is that so? I was sure you two knew each other. Is there something we can do for you, good sir?
Oh, what a lovely young lady. I was just telling this kind soul a story.
Really? What's troubling you?
Well, I was thinking of going to daily prayer, but my leg's been acting up and I can't walk properly.
How terrible. That's no good at all. May I be of assistance? I'd be happy to lend a shoulder and escort you to the chapel.
Would you? Oh, I'd be most grateful to you. Thank the goddess for sending this young lady to me today.
We'll need your help too, Professor. Here, sir, take my arm. Splendid work, Professor. He really seemed to appreciate our assistance. I don't think I did anything particularly deserving of praise. I'm just happy that I could help. You did a great job cheering him up on your own. Putting a smile on someone's face always seems to brighten up the day. Is something wrong? You're giving me a strange look. Oh, how should I put this? I suppose it's just second nature to me. It's difficult to describe, but I can usually tell when someone is worried about something. Back there, I could tell that both you and the old man were in distress. I spent a good amount of my life living in the church. Maybe that's why I'm so good at identifying these things? Did I not mention that before? I spent nearly 10 years of my life in the Church of Fargus. Many came to us with their troubles. In my own time of need, I once ran to the church myself, and they helped me. May I share something with you, Professor? It's about a dream of mine. I'd like to work in the church one day. I want to be like the priest who helped me. Never mind. It's not a very realistic dream. Please forget I said anything. If I were someone else, perhaps a commoner without a crest or stature, maybe things would be different. It's a bit sad, but this is the way things have to be. After all, only the goddess can decide our fates. Oh, Professor! I have a small request for you. I'd love it if you would add me to your class. I can just tell that studying under you every day would be such a treat. Wow, really? Thank you so much. I'm so happy. I hope to learn a lot from you. Oh, goodness. Is something the matter, Professor? You look a little pale. Please be careful. It's so easy to catch a cold this time of year. Oh, now where did that Ingrid run off to? The ball is soon, and she hadn't even put on any makeup. I was trying to help her out. Why, Professor, I was wondering where you ran off to. I searched the entire floor, but couldn't find you anywhere. Tired, are we? I can tell by that look on your face. It must be exhausting being so popular, huh? I can imagine. Shall we take a break here, then? Say, Professor, have you heard the legend of the Goddess Tower? They say that if two people exchange a vow here, the goddess herself will fulfill it. Ah, so even you have heard that one. The stories must travel far. Many young couples come here in private, all thanks to that legend. They make promises to stay together forever, things like that. I actually saw a man invite a lady to join him at the tower while on my way here. It's rather romantic, don't you think? Indeed. Though, just because two people share a promise, that doesn't guarantee they'll be together forever. You've noticed many nobles at the Academy, right? They very rarely have the freedom to choose their own partners. Yet still they wish to stay together. Maybe that's why they pray to the goddess. Are you waiting on anyone, Professor? Oh my! Even though we didn't make plans to meet? You're a charmer, aren't you? Ah! I almost forgot why I came looking for you. I was wondering if you'd like to dance with me. It's just so loud in the reception hall, though. I think I'd rather stay here with you. If that's all right with you, Professor. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm so glad you're okay, Professor. I was so worried.
Oh, Professor! You must be starving. Mercy and I made some sweets for you. We were thinking that if you were to eat something sweet, it might help you feel better.
Baking sweets is my specialty. I'm sure they'll do the trick.
You've been granted this power by the goddess herself. Truly, you must be a very special individual. Maybe Saros transformed before receiving her revelation too.
I haven't heard anything about that before. Maybe that part never found its way into the legend?
It is told that Saros had a revelation, instructing her to use her power for good, and to lead the people of Fodlan to salvation. I wonder what sort of revelation you might have, Professor.
See, surely this is what the goddess willed, isn't it? I feel she would not have wanted the Church of Saros to become what it has. Professor. Do you have a moment, Professor? I need to speak. Thank you so much. This is what I wanted to address. This letter from my adoptive father just arrived. Oh, have I not mentioned him? He's the reason I first came to the Officers' Academy. He's also the one who dragged me from the church where I was living, just so he could use my crest. My crest does not yet belong to a house, so he plans to use it as leverage to marry into the nobility. He's a very greedy man who was a roving merchant before adopting me, but now he's in the capital. This letter says that he's finally arranged to marry me off to a wealthy noble. I know he's just thinking of himself, but can't he see that this isn't a priority when we're at war? I don't know what to do about this proposal. I can't see any way around it, so I fear that I must. I just don't want to let go of the life that I've made for myself. I know it's not what my heart wants, but I don't have the strength to say no. I believe I've mentioned this before, but I want to work in service of the church. Well, I suppose it doesn't necessarily have to be the church, but I want to help those in need. If I were to marry a noble, I think it would be difficult to realize that dream. It's just, I've always allowed myself to follow the whims of those above me. I convinced myself that everything in life was at the will of the goddess. I was blind to reality. I believed it was her will to both pull me from the church and guide me to the Officers' Academy. The decision to enter this war was the first time I acted of my own free will. My adoptive father opposed this decision, but I somehow managed to convince him. Still, I couldn't free myself of him completely. This letter is proof of that. It's not that I'm scared of him, but there is something that worries me. I knew you'd understand, Professor. I've sat down to write a reply several times, but I can't muster up the courage or the words. I was hoping you could provide me with the encouragement I need. That's a very good point. We're only given one life, so we must do all we can to pursue our happiness. Okay. I think that may have been just the push I was looking for. I'll tell him the truth. That I found a life worth pursuing, and I must decline the proposal. Maybe I should tell him I've fallen for someone else. Why, it's you, Professor. Isn't that obvious? I'm just teasing. Now I'm off to write this letter and stand my ground. Thank you for your encouragement. I have good friends in both the Alliance and Fargus, so this fighting weighs heavily on me. I can't bear the thought of battling the Knights of Seros to the death. I have to keep my chin up though, right? Let's press on together, Professor. Flowers are so resilient, aren't they? Despite the war going on outside the monastery, here they are blooming beautifully. I hope we get to see more kinds of flowers when the weather warms up. Oh, Claude. It's too late now, but it's such a shame. You'll be fighting the kingdom next, right? Then, the church? I guess Edelgard won't hesitate to cut Dimitri and Lady Rhea down. Well, that was certainly frightening. You're very perceptive, Professor. Having to fight against the Church of Seros was unnerving. To push back against something I've hinged so much of my life upon, I was terrified. But now we must fight Lady Rhea, and I won't back down. I see. When I first enrolled in the Officers' Academy, I never thought it would come to this. I can't believe we're waging war. Against the Church, no less. Yes, of course. Even if our enemy is Lady Rhea herself, I am prepared to fight.
Sorry. It looks like I'm going to have to leave you now.
One day, I hope you'll give this ring to someone you love, as well as I love her.
There you are. I apologize for the short notice, but I'm so glad you could make it. I'm sure you're very busy being the hero of Fodlan and all. What a relief. I have to ask you something, but I'd hate to inconvenience you. Do you mind hearing me out? Ah, great. Here it is. I'm going to Ferdiad to meet with my adoptive father, and I'd like you to accompany me. I feel the need to set things straight with him, in my own way. I've already decided exactly what I'm going to say. I'm choosing to live my life how I want, in pursuit of my own happiness. I need you to accept that. I'm in charge of my own destiny, not you, not anyone else, just me. I've waited so long to say all that. That's a very good question. Where do I start? Remember when I teased that I'd fallen for you? The truth is, that wasn't entirely in jest. I fell for you some time ago. In fact, I'd very much like to spend my life with you. Of course, that's only if you'll have me. Oh my goodness! Yes! Let's! You've no idea what this means to me. This may be the happiest I've ever been. I'm so glad I could finally express my feelings. Now we can live the rest of our lives together. To think, I was able to choose this path of my own volition, and now I get to walk it with you. Should one person be allowed this much happiness? But still, you're only given one life. Are you sure you want to spend it with me? I may be quite demanding at times, as I intend on pursuing my dreams. I want to help those in need, wherever they may be, and I won't give up on that. I thought that's what you might say. Perhaps that's why I fell for you. It's just the way you are. All right, let's be off. It's no short journey to Ferdiad. Oh, something to note. You should know that I can be quite scatterbrained and clumsy, but I will do everything in my power to help and support you too, whatever you may need. What a wonderful life we will lead together. Oh, but why would Edelgard do something like this? I'm sure we'll be all right, though, Professor. The goddess will keep us safe. We may not be students anymore, but it's still important to read. We might even learn something that's useful for our next battle. I couldn't agree more. I hope the Officers' Academy reopens when the war's over. It's a shame the monastery, at least the book. Lady Rhea is in the Empire, isn't she? We should hurry up and find her. So many people in the monastery and nearby towns are worried. I want to ease their minds as soon as possible, Professor. Let's work together to find her. Oh, Goddess, hear my prayer. Please bless the deceased with peace everlasting, and may his soul rest in tranquility. You know, I used to see him praying quite often when I would come to the cathedral at night. I wonder who it was he prayed for back then. It's been so long since I've been to the Imperial capital. I used to go to the opera there with my mother and brother. I never thought my return would be like this. Professor! Lady Rhea still seems weak, but at least she's safe now. I'm praying that she'll be well as soon as possible. Goddess, I beg you, protect Lady Rhea. Professor, I heard a rumor that you're going to take over for Lady Rhea. So it's already been decided? That's very admirable of you, Professor. You have nothing to worry about. We're here to help you if you need anything at all. We'll support you no matter what path you choose to follow.